Hello and welcome to an overview of the Prim Cello. A little not so little library, that's definitely a work of passion for me, as ever since I've met with the cellist Václav Žák, I knew that I had to record him. So after some convincing, actually a lot of convincing, and days together in the studio, which became weeks, designing this little gem, we came up with what you've just heard on the little live improv I've played. So it has been an incredible journey, and I'm really proud to finally present it to you. The beating heart of this library is a variety of legatos in 3 chord dynamic spreads. Here is a little example of how wide is this solo instrument, which of course is quite unusual for solo instruments to be this dynamically spread. First, let me play something in mezzo piano to piano pianissimo. Wow, okay, that was something here. The cello plays so softly in true legato, and yeah, that was enjoyable. So let's move on to mezzo forte to mezzo piano. That was straightforward. So now let's listen to the forte fortissimo going to mezzo forte. I just love that really harsh bow change at the end. Now, whether you play actually on bow or bow changed is very easy because we've got delayed release. So if you play within the delayed release and you note, it's a bow changed. If you overlap, it's an on bow. This allows for easy repetition of the bow, which of course was also sampled in 3 dynamics. It was also sampled chromatically and of course respecting all of the bow directions. Okay, it's actually great fun showing on this library. So the next part is moods. We have improv, emotive, and assertive. Now, those who own Bohemian, they already roughly know the differences. Here, it's also that it responds slightly differently on the velocity. It leans towards emotive, towards the softer, assertive towards the more aggressive playing, and the improv is just the jack of all trades, best one to start with. So far, we've been only on improv. Now, the emotive opens up with arc. while the assertive starts with a marcato and opens up very aggressively. Right, this video is starting to be quite long, but there is a lot to show. So now we get to the articulations such as longs, shorts, legato types, subtypes, and bowing. So let's start with the longs. We have arcs, we have mid arcs, which are with a faster arc and more pronounced arc in a way. Then we have sustains. Sustains, marcatos, and diminuendos, of course, have three dynamics. Let me just show you all three dynamics, for example, of the marcato, and then we go to diminuendo. And lush diminuendos. Now I guess is the best time to show off crafting, which makes this library evolve even further, because when you turn on crafting, you can take up any of the longs and force them on into the legato so they blend together, and it just adds a flexibility to create some beautiful arcs, mid arcs in there. So let's play a short example first without set forcing and then with forcing on. It is ultimately why we call crafting the one to rule them all, because sometimes using just one force key, arcs or mid arcs or marcatos or diminuendos, makes all the difference to evolve that piece to even beyond what the library delivers automatically and instantly. Of course, the library wouldn't be complete if we didn't record some shorts as well. So we've got staccatos and spiccatos that we recorded again in three dynamics, and of course in both bow direction. That wouldn't be us if we didn't have them both. And of course it's sampled chromatically, so it allows for a little playing like this. And of course, I cannot forget to show off the pizzicatos because they're also fun to play. And finally, we get to the legatos and legato subtypes. Now, as we've mentioned, everything has on-bow and bow change recordings in both bow directions. But actually, all of that we've also recorded with slightly different melodic patterns. So what it does in the end is generate mild differences between the what happens on the interval and the approach and the fingering, the way the hand slides. It's the small little things. And because we wanted a library that's consistent, the melody patterns were very similar, but at the same time, we wanted a vast variety of the samples. So, yeah, you can have a listen to how subtle these differences are, but how useful it becomes when the performer chooses it by itself at all times. As you heard, it's those differences that actually bring life to the instrument because variety is definitely the spice of legato. And having three dynamics, different approaches, and then having it glue all together to be consistent and very playable, that, in my opinion, is a great achievement, and we're very proud of that. Now, you also have runs and trills where basically you tell the engine that you're gonna do runs or trills. Now, you don't have to normally force this on because this happens all in the background when you play on bow or a bow change. The engine recognizes that you're playing fast and will adjust, but you can also force it on. Now, when it comes to legatos, the last thing you can force on is bow change on overlap. It's in case you didn't want to use the delayed release and you wanted to force on where you want bow change in a different way. It's just a control mechanism for those who prefer a different way of working than me. And the one thing we have left now is the bowing control. We have the lasting bow, which will look for a longer sustain post the interval to blend in if there is one available. Then we have auto rebow, which automatically rebows for you. By default, it's turned off. It was in the Bohemian, so we left it there for those who may like it. And then we've got an up bow and down bow, where if you force the up bow, it will always play from the top of the bow going down. It's an up bow, we call it from the start, or the down bow, that it starts from the bottom and goes towards the tip of the bow. Now you can force these and use these for replacing intervals you don't like, but just remember that it's good to apply it on the two following samples, not just on one, so you remain in the same bowing directions as you've been up till that point. And that brings us to the end of this quick overview. Of course, there is still maestro, there is reverb, there is fine control, there is still so much more. We'll get to that in the manual, and if we've got the time, we'll make more videos. And thank you very much for listening. I hope you've enjoyed that. We look forward to hearing the tracks you write with it. Take care.